Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're getting into something that literally shapes our entire relationship with modern healthcare. It's kind of provocative, actually. We're looking at how the medical system operates, how it defines health, and honestly, how it views you as a patient. We're going to examine this very blunt concept that challenges everything we assume about what it means to be considered healthy by medical standards. It's called the threshold of medical intervention, and I'm telling you, unpacking this might completely change how you approach your very next checkup. Okay, let's just dive right in. How sick do you actually have to be for the medical system to step in and say, whoa, we need to fix this? Today, we are exploring that massive, and I mean massive, gray area between optimal health and an absolute code blue medical emergency. See, normally when we think about our health, we kind of imagine this gradual slope, right? Like a slow, recognizable decline from feeling amazing to feeling just a little off, down to being critically ill. But the material we're looking at today, it suggests a radically different and honestly way more abrupt reality. To really get this, we have to define what this threshold of medical intervention actually is. Basically, this is the extreme breaking point where a doctor officially decides, okay, you're no longer doing fine. It's this foundational, almost invisible line that totally dictates how and when modern medical care kicks in. Before you cross that line, you're kind of left to your own devices. The system just observes, maybe runs a basic lab test, and then waits. But the second you cross it, boom, the alarms go off and the whole system activates. So the real mystery here is, where exactly is that invisible line actually drawn? Well, the source text lays this out with some pretty jarring starkness. It says most doctors will tell you are doing fine unless one of your organs are failing or you are about to die. Just let that sink in for a second. That is an incredibly abrupt leap, isn't it? I mean, you go from doing absolutely fine straight to your organs actively shutting down. There's literally no gentle transition there. It paints this picture where the medical threshold is pushed all the way out to the absolute edge of human survival. And this setup really brilliantly illustrates the complete and shocking lack of a middle ground here. On one side, you have doing fine, and on the other, you jump straight to organ failing. The paradox is just wild. Think about it. You could be dealing with a bunch of lingering symptoms, feeling consistently drained, or just noticing a real drop in your daily energy. But under this specific framework, as long as you haven't crossed over into that extreme failure zone, you're officially in the safe zone. You are, quote unquote, just doing fine. So the absolutely crucial point here is how this completely redefines what active medical care is actually for. Under this model, intervention isn't about optimizing your well-being or, catching some subtle early-stage decline. Not at all. It operates strictly as a rescue operation. The system acts as this ultimate, final safety net, but it's a net designed only to catch you right before you hit the concrete. It's completely reactive to the extremes rather than being proactive about your day-to-day health. Which, of course, forces a pretty obvious question. What exactly happens in that massive gap in between? Because for years, or honestly even decades, you might exist in this weird limbo where you definitely aren't perfectly healthy, but you also haven't triggered those extreme criteria for intervention. You're basically left navigating that huge gap entirely on your own, walking around with the label of doing fine simply because you haven't reached the point of total systemic failure. And that leaves us with a really provocative thought to chew on. Where do you currently sit on the spectrum? Honestly, the next time a clinic tells you that you're doing fine, remember this stark contrast. Does it mean you are truly thriving, living at your absolute best, or does it just mean your organs aren't failing right this second? Understanding this threshold of medical intervention is really the very first step in taking true ownership of that massive gap in between. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and definitely keep questioning those thresholds in your own life.